Hello, welcome along, welcome back, welcome to the show. It's the Fun Kids Science Weekly. This is guaranteed, this is the only show that takes you around the universe, unveils all the secrets of the galaxy, and plonks you back when you were in about half an hour's time. My name's Dan. This week, we're talking about the largest marine reptile that's ever lived. We'll also chat to an explorer who's trying to save the planet. This woman is incredible, right? She grew up surfing in Hawaii. She searched for yetis in Nepal when she was 7. She's climbed inside volcanoes, and now she's trying to rid the planet of plastic. She's on the show in a little bit. Also, we'll find out what's happening under the sea in Antarctica. And I've got your questions on the way, as always. This week, they're about the universe, eyebrows, and clouds. So we're covering all bases this week on the Fun Kids Science Weekly. First, let's kick it off with something brand new for us. This is Professor Hallex talking about pathology.
Professor Hallex's Pathology Puzzles with the Royal College of Pathologists.
You're not still watching that silly old show, are you? What is it? Time Stop Crime Cop?
No, it's Time Cop Crime Stop. Totally different. Time Cop solves all the mysteries. Looking at the evidence. How did the puzzler die? Who committed the crime? Who ate the pie? Who's responsible for that very strange smell in the garage?
Well, that'll be all your stinky old lab coats.
Ha! Well, that's one mystery solved. But that's why I love detective shows. Solving puzzles is brilliant. And did you know there's a type of medicine which is all about solving puzzles? It's called pathology.
Pathology? Isn't that all about paths?
It's got nothing to do with paths. It isn't remotely connected to the concretey, gravelly things. It's all about looking at the evidence to figure out what's happened, or what's happening to a body.
Sounds a bit icky. Just like the shout. Ew. All those dead bodies?
Nonsense! Whilst pathology can be really important to find out what caused someone to die, it's also used in many other cool ways. Like when you're feeling ill, you'll go to and see the doctor. They rely on the knowledge, diagnostic skills and advice of pathologists. If your doctor's taken a sample of your wee or blood, the definitive answer is usually provided by a pathologist. And you don't even have to be ill. Sometimes evidence is gathered to check that you're in good health. I think we should find out more about the different areas of pathology.
The plot thickens.
Professor Hallex's Pathology Puzzles with the Royal College of Pathologists. Find out more at funkidslive.com/Hallex.
It's time to answer your science questions on the show. If you've got something wriggling around your brain that you need the answer to, let me do the work for you. Let me figure it out. Just leave it as a review for the Fun Kids Science Weekly over on Apple Podcasts. Now, the first one today, it's quite a tricky one to actually get the answer for, because I don't think anyone properly knows, and I don't think there's ever any way that we will officially know. But I'm going to do my best. So just bear with me for this one, okay? It comes in from Charlotte, who is 7 years old, who asks, how do we know the universe is infinite? Maybe we just haven't reached the end yet. Well, the best answer that I can find for this, Charlotte, suggests that scientists don't properly know if it's infinite or not. I mean, think of Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond. Think about everyone talking about the universe. They always say that it's infinite, but the truth is we don't properly know. Scientists think there is an edge to it at the moment, but it's expanding all the time, a bit like a balloon blowing up. Everything's getting bigger at the same time. It's expanding into itself. Remember though, when scientists are looking at stars that are really far away, they're looking back in time, because it takes years, millions and millions, hundreds, thousands, all of those. It takes that many years for the light to travel from the edge of what we see as the universe back to our eyes, which means the universe is probably bigger right now than we can see it as. I think when people say that the universe is infinite, it means that it's all we know. It's all we know of right now. It's infinite in that sense. It's everything that we can kind of fathom. But remember, they're talking about multiverses as well. There might be more than one universe, which does kind of blow your brain a little bit. But the truth is, Charlotte, thank you for the question, but we don't actually know officially if it is endless yet. This one is from Nathaniel, a little bit easier to answer. He is 6 years old. He's from Belfast, and he asks, why do we have eyebrows? Now, originally, Nathaniel, it was to keep the rain and the sweat out of our eyes and all the dust and the grit and the dirt. We need our eyes. They're one of our most important senses, and we don't want water or anything in them blurring our vision, especially back in the day when we needed to be looking around for predators coming from all sides. We needed that 20/20 vision. We couldn't have it impaired by a little bit of sand or grit. They also help keep the sun out of our eyes. In recent times, though, eyebrows have moved on. Their function has improved because we now talk to each other, don't we? We talk to each other silently, expressively, using our eyebrows. We've evolved to understand each other through our eyebrows. Maybe we raise one when we're curious or when we're mad. There's a lot of things eyebrows can do. Thank you so much for the question, Nathaniel. And lastly, this one is from Grace, who is 11, with an old favourite on the show. How do clouds form? It's an easy one for us to do, Grace. Water from rivers and lakes and rain, it evaporates in the sun, travels upwards as water vapour, and then it cools down when it gets high in the air, and then the air, it can't hold the water vapour anymore, so it forms ice crystals, which are light enough to hang in the air as a cloud. Now, when a lot of these ice crystals, when the heavy water vapour clumps together, it gets too heavy, they fall from the clouds as rain, and then the cycle goes over and over again. Water getting too hot, it evaporating, it cooling down, it becoming clouds, it getting too heavy, it falling down, it becoming too hot, over and over again. That's it for the questions today. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Nathaniel. Thank you, Charlotte. And if you've left a question, I will get to it, but I always need more. Leave it as a review for the Fun Kids Science Weekly over on the Apple Podcast Store. It's the Fun Kids Science Weekly. Now, Alison Teal is a conservationist, an author, and like an almighty adventure extraordinaire. And she's been all around the UK this week explaining how her adventures helped her learn to look after the world. And she's on the phone to tell us more. Hey, Alison.
Aloha! How are you?
Aloha! Hello!
It's a little colder here than in Hawaii.
I know. So let me get this straight to start with. I know you grew up in Hawaii. Do you live there right now?
Well, during my adventures, we based out of a kind of Robinson Crusoe, Tarzan, Swiss Family Robinson home in Hawaii. And so that's my home base, but then I always travel the world for my adventures.
Well, a little bit of background. So, yeah, grew up in Hawaii. You found yourself halfway up Mount Everest searching for a Yeti when you were about 7. You surfed in New Zealand when you were a bit older. You've also climbed volcanoes. Alison, I was thinking, with your extensive knowledge and travel all around the world, you've seen many parts that most other people would never get the chance. What has it taught you about how much danger the world is actually in right now?
Ooh, well, that's exactly what I love to speak of, because I don't know if I'd call it danger, but, I'd say that as far as I know, we only have one planet Earth, and I like living here, and I'd like to continue helping other humans to live here in the future. And what I've found as, the female Indiana Jones on a quest when I was investigating myths and mysteries and legends, I found one shocking discovery no matter where I went. Whether it was a big city, a tall mountain, the depths of the sea, a little teeny village, and that was plastic pollution everywhere. And our most important treasure on Earth is our world waters. So I discovered our world waters are the most important treasure, and then plastic pollution is destroying that treasure. And so I've made it my quest as the female Indiana Jones to protect the greatest treasure on Earth. And so I don't know if I'd say we're in perilous danger, but if we don't make some changes, we might not be able to survive, because everything in life survives on water, right?
Now, we've heard on the show quite a lot about the peril of, not to to be too dramatic.
It's dramatic.
Not to be too dramatic, but the peril of plastic. We've heard quite a lot about this. Now, but you are someone that's not just looked this thing up on an internet. You've actually been there. You have seen it. So what small steps are you taking every day to try and work with not just your plastic consumption, but also everyone else's?
Well, that's right. I actually never set out to be an environmentalist or an activist. I love to tell stories and to adventure. I was raised around the world by my parents, and my first adventure was at 2 months old up the highest peak in southern Peru. And I turned blue, passed out, came to giggling on the way down, which is a great foreshadow for my love of adventure. and so, it wasn't that I was like, oh, we have to make change and I'm going to yell at everyone for using plastic. It was more that as I traveled to all these places in the world and watched my tribal families and even my reefs, my home reefs in Hawaii where I swim with the dolphin and the fish and, set off to find Nemo, when I see that all getting destroyed, it really means a lot to me. And so that's why I feel like positivity creates positive change. And so I stay positive about it, but I also want to show what's happening out there, right? Because if you see it, you can believe it. So I've scaled Trash Island, which is in the middle of the Indian Ocean, to show it's this apocalyptic, massive Everest of trash that's, coming from ocean currents from all over the world. And what I've found is that it's not just one person's fault, right? This is coming from everywhere. And so we're going to have to unite as a world to also put an end to it.
You were at schools this week explaining some of your experiences and how that's made you think about the world. What were you telling people there about what they can do to help the planet?
Well, you want to hear something funny? Even though I grew up on a dugout canoe going down the Amazon or in a tent, on the face of Mount Everest, my one dream was to go to school, which is the grass is always greener, right? The coconuts are always greener in someone else's on someone else's island. And so I couldn't wait. I started writing as soon as I could hold a pen when I was little. And I thought, if I write a book, maybe I can go to schools and share my stories. So it has been really fun going to schools here and, explaining to them that we don't have to be negative about this. We can be positive and we can all make change on our own. So, for example, my surfboards are made out of recycled coffee cups. The one that I travel around, I always have my pink surfboard with me. And as an individual, you could use a reusable water bottle, right? Instead of buying a plastic water bottle. Or if you go to a restaurant and you want to take your food home, you could bring your own container. Or you don't really need to use a straw, right? They're not that necessary and they get stuck in the nose of turtles. And so it's just thinking about what kind of single-use plastic, something you use just once and throw it away, like a plastic bag, you could bring your own backpack, right, to the store when you go. So things like that you can just cut the simple stuff out, and that will make a huge difference.
You mentioned about the grass always being greener and you were desperate to go to school when you were young. It makes me think, when you're doing all these amazing things, when you aren't that old, when you are halfway up a mountain in Peru, you're searching for a Yeti, are you aware at the time just how amazing that is, or is it all the norm?
Well, that's what I love. That's what one of my important messages is that I think no matter how you grow up, you sometimes always want someone else's life, right? That they might have a better clothing or better adventures or better vacations, or you like their friends better or their school better. And I think that can be a commonality that sometimes you just have to sit there for a moment and go, wow, what do I have that I appreciate? And so that as I grew up, I was like, well, my parents really gave me the world. And, maybe I had to eat tarantulas and, live off granola bars for a month and freeze my hands and feet off in the highest Himalayas. And it wasn't glamorous. But looking back, I got to experience some of the most wild places on Earth. I got to paddle up to active volcanoes on my surfboard and, watch the Earth being born. I got to discover the Fountain of Youth with my parents in India. I had to kiss a snake to save my life in Morocco from a horrible surfing accident. I got to live with Fijian firewalkers on a lost island in Fiji. And, this was normal life to me. And my one dream was to have homework and get on a big school bus and go to Disneyland and go to school. And, as I started getting older, I realized, wow, everybody has something that they can be appreciative of because everybody, thinks that, like I said, the coconuts might be greener on someone else's island.
Now, you've written loads about this in the brand new book. It's Alison's Adventures, Your Passport to the World. And the front cover, let me tell you, it tells you everything you need to know about the book. It's you with your pink surfboard, riding a camel in the foothills of what looks like Mount Everest. It's spectacular. So you've done all this, Alison. Just give us a little sneak peek of what's in the book and talk us through some of the adventures that you're most proud to have accomplished.
Well, my parents were adventure photographers for companies like National Geographic, and so we would go and live in the most remote corners of the world, and my dad would shoot photos. And I scanned about 9,000 of his slides that have never been seen before, and I was so excited to share them with the world. And then as I grew, I took up the torch of adventure. So there's adventures in this book from the day I was born, when they took me places I probably shouldn't go, and then up until, now when I got to paddle through the catacombs of Paris on my pink surfboard to talk about protecting our freshwater and diving in the freshwater caves in Mexico with the top scientists on Earth to uncover some of the oldest human skeletons in the world. And, it just goes from one venture. I don't want to give too much away, but it goes from one adventure to another. But, as much as I love these adventures and they're exciting and I hope they're incredible page turners for every age, especially our youth, it's really the impact that these adventures have had on my soul that make all the difference. And I'm hoping to educate through entertainment, and each one has a lesson that you'll never even know you're learning, because hopefully they're so exciting that you'll just get through it and go, oh, wow, I didn't know that about India, or I didn't know that was the first woman to climb Everest. Because woven into my adventures, I also talk about other powerful females and what they've done, or really fun science information about the different countries that I go to. So it's not just about my adventures. It also has an educational element that happens in a really fun and exciting way.
I don't want to get too deep, but how many times in your adventures, I'm reading about one now when you're surfing around a pirate rock and you kind of get chucked against the shore, but how many times have you actually thought, perhaps this is one crazy thing too many and this might actually be the end?
Every day. Well, it's interesting. There's a balance. I've never been hurt in my life. I've never broken a bone, because as many crazy things as I do, of course, I always take the exact precautions, and highly professional, trained people. You have to go. Don't try this at home. Do not try to paddle up to an active volcano. But I will say that it probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, because when I paddled up, so our volcano in Hawaii erupted, and it was flowing lava down these 100-feet cliffs, these waterfalls of lava. And I went out there with a Discovery Channel show to go free diving and see what water temperatures, it almost evokes climate change, right? Because it's heating the water. So we wanted to see what creatures could live in this heated water. But when we went to free dive, we couldn't see anything. So I took my pink surfboard, I jumped off the boat, and I said, look, I just want to paddle over and watch the Earth being born for a minute. Someone filmed it. It went way viral. It erupted all over the world, and it kind of blew my mind. And what I don't think a lot of people do know is that an hour later, that entire cliff collapsed, and if I would have been there, I'd be dead. But just to paddle and watch the Earth being born and see it, and have these massive explosions happening in my face, having to duck underwater and paddling around and being able to surf these active waters, off an erupting volcano, it changes your life. It fuels your soul. And I do it more to spread the beauty of nature, not to just be like, I want to do something crazy dangerous. I always laugh because my parents worry more about me driving on a freeway, than they do paddling up to an active volcano or climbing Everest at age 7. And so I think it's just perspective. And if you respect nature and you want to protect it, then I think it'll help, keep you alive. And that's kind of what the trust that I've had in it. But you definitely want to take the right precautions,
What truly terrifies you? Not terrifies you in the way that, because I imagine you're the type of person that thinks, I'm going to do something that I'm scared of. If I'm scared out of a plane, I'm going to leap out of it. But what actually terrifies you to the point that might make you think more than twice?
Trying to find my way on the tube here in London has been absolutely. I'm like, which way does that go? What terrifies me? I wouldn't say it terrifies me, but it definitely. I don't even know the right word. But what I want to express is that I love this planet so much. I love to surf. I love to explore these. Can you imagine standing on top of a mountain where no one's ever stood and feeling the wind in your hair and seeing, the Lord of the Rings volcano right in front of you in New Zealand while you're riding horseback? And to think that our future generations won't be able to experience this because of things like plastic or climate change or things that are affecting our planet, that is terrifying to me, because I love it so much that I want to make waves of change with my pink surfboard wherever I go, so that we don't have to move to Mars, and I don't have to worry about, my future generations, if I ever have kids one day, maybe, that they will also get to explore, and that, a whole new generation of explorers can rise up. And so I put it out there to every kid and everyone who wants to be a scientist or an inventor. Maybe they can help invent the next solution to plastic pollution or to temperatures rising, and, to every little girl out there who ever has a dream and maybe it terrifies you to dive into the unknown. And it doesn't have to be Mount Everest or a volcano. It could be meeting a new friend, or it could be climbing a tree, or doing something maybe that you haven't done before. And once you do that, it could spark this inspiration of you to keep going. And I always just say, travel with a cause, whether it's down the street, be kind to people, or across the world. Just try to make those ripple effects of change if you can.
Lastly, you're talking about the future. What is there left for you to do? What adventures are still out there that you do want to conquer?
Oh, everything. I've never been to Egypt. Can you imagine? I mean, that is just something that I would absolutely love to go to the pyramids and learn about the ancient history of Egypt. And I also have a secret adventure plan. Okay, I might divulge it. Where I'd love to go to the North Pole with my pink surfboard and be one of the first female surfers to surf around that area and inspire the protection of climate change and see the melting ice and have that be a message of, a pink ray of sunshine in what's happening.
Imagine that. Imagine seeing that. We're constantly told about rising sea levels and melting glaciers, and to see you with your pink surfboard hanging 10 on an iceberg that's just melted. I mean, there is not going to be any more striking of an image. Listen, Alison, the book is fantastic. It's out now. It's called Alison's Adventures, Your Passport to the World. I'm really joyed to speak to like a proper Indiana Jones. So thank you so much, Alison.
Thank you so much. I can't wait for everybody to read it. And let me know your thoughts. I'm out there. I exist. I'm not a fictitious character like Indiana Jones. So please write me. And I would love to answer your questions.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us.
Okay. Aloha.
For this week's Dangerous Dan, we're headed back to the Triassic period, 210 million years ago, to say hello to the largest marine reptile that's ever lived. Everyone bow, curtsy, wave your hands, say hello, meet the Shastasaurus. Now, it's a reptile, so it's the same family as crocodiles are today, but it looked more like a whale back in the Triassic, though, and it was as heavy as a blue whale, coming in at 75 tons. It measured 69 foot long, which is as long as a 7-story building is tall. Now, this is Dangerous Dan, right? And the Shastasaurus is mainly on this list because it's massive. It's not really going to eat you. It only ate small fish, squid, and octopuses. But if it fell on you, come on, it's the largest marine reptile that's ever lived. It's dangerous. That's going to do you damage, but it's in the water. Now, because it didn't eat that many big animals, it was quite skinny. It was quite agile, even though they were huge. Now, the problem with them being a predator, they had quite a small head and no teeth, which meant they were forced to suck another animal to death. But it is massive, and massive things, especially massive dinosaurs, are always brutal, which means the largest marine reptile that's ever lived, the Shastasaurus, makes our Dangerous Dan list. Let's get some of your gadget questions answered right now with our geeky guru. This is Techno Mum.
Techno Mum, Engineering Explorers.
I love coming up with ideas for cool new gadgets. Not surprising really when my mum's an engineer. I'm pretty sure she's going to be mega impressed with my latest creation. Jet-propelled roller skates. Just a quick burst of turbo here, and the momentum will carry you along the wheels before lift-off.
That'd certainly make it quicker to get to school. Not a bad thing when I have to tell you 100 times to hurry up.
You'd be chasing me up the road in these.
That'll make a nice change. You know, there are engineers out there working on other cool new ways to get things up in the air.
What kind of engineers?
Aeronautical and aerospace engineers.
Aeronautical and aerospace engineers? I guess what they have in common is the air.
That's right. Both involve working with aircraft, things which you make that can fly.
Like an enormous jumbo jet or even a rocket. Cool.
It could be, but they also create smaller things, like satellites the size of this table or drones that fit in one hand. There's lots of exciting new technology, and it comes in all shapes and sizes.
So, what's the difference between aeronautical and aerospace engineers?
Aeronautical engineers work with aircraft that operate inside the Earth's atmosphere, things like planes, helicopters and drones. Aerospace engineers work on things which operate...
Let me guess. In space?
You're very bright, aren't you? I wonder where you get it from.
I'd love a job working on planes, or better still, rockets.
Well, there's no reason why you can't. Aerospace engineers are busier than ever. Check out this video. A lot of new aerospace jobs have been created because of our need for satellites. We're using more and more of them all the time, not just for watching the telly, but to observe the Earth and the atmosphere. Over the next 10 years, it's expected that there will be over 3,000 launch. That's a lot of launches, and they don't just magically appear up in orbit. Something has to carry them into orbit. This aerospace engineer is working on a space plane which will fly both to outside of our atmosphere. It could carry satellites into orbit or take supplies to the International Space Station, which is a satellite itself.
So, a space plane is kind of like a delivery van?
A very fast, very high-tech van, yes. This prototype plane has taken some test flights, and the engineer is looking at the results on a computer. It looks like part of the fuselage has been damaged. She's investigating why that might be. Because things like space planes are extremely complex, engineers often work in teams, and being good at detail is critical because safety is so important. Now, while some engineers will be coming up with creative solutions...
Like my jet-propelled roller skates?
Perhaps. Well, other engineers will be more focused on checking that the plans have been correctly followed, helping to figure out why things might not have gone as planned.
Cool job.
There are loads of cool jobs for engineers. Almost as many jobs as there are inventions.
Speaking of inventions, I think I can feel another idea coming on. Levitating trousers?
Engineering Explorers, created with support from the Institution of Engineering and Technology to celebrate the Year of Engineering. Find out more at funkidslive.com/technomum.
Let's get on with this week's Science in the News. The UK cannot go climate neutral before 2050 unless people drastically change their lives. That's what a new report says. Government-funded research has said that unless people stop flying and stop eating red meat, we'll have trouble slowing down the accelerating climate crisis. Also, very quickly, more on climate change. Scientists say rising water temperatures are playing havoc for weird creatures that live under the ice in Antarctica. These animals have adapted for life at around -2 degrees C, but as sea temperatures rise, even by a degree, it's warmer waters than they've seen for millions of years, and this warm water has untold effects on their body. And finally, scientists have discovered what they say is the smallest known dinosaur. The specimen that they found it in contains a bird-like skull trapped in 99-million-year-old amber. It was found in Myanmar, and they think it's similar in size to a hummingbird, weighing in at 2 grams. And also, get this, from the shape of the eye that they've seen, scientists think that it had exceptional vision, unlike almost any other dinosaur. And that is it for this week's Science in the News. Thank you so much for giving us a listen. Remember, if you've got a sciencey question that you want answered on the show, you need to leave it for me as a review for the podcast over on the Apple Podcast Store. I'm especially still after your train questions, by the way, for the train special that's on the way in a few weeks. I've got a few of them. I'd like a few more, so head over to the Apple Podcast Store, find the Fun Kids Science Weekly, and let me know your sciencey questions. It's also one of the best places that you can hear all of our brilliant series that we've got. They're not just science ones, we've got history ones, we've got ones about roads, we've got ones about trains, all sorts on there. You can find them on the Apple Podcast Store. Wherever you get your shows from, Google, Spotify, they're on the free Fun Kids app and at funkidslive.com. And Fun Kids, we're a children's radio station from the UK. You can hear us all over the country on your DAB digital radio. A lot of words, I'm sorry. Also on the Fun Kids app, and as always at funkidslive.com.